Welcome to a short video on how to write specific job specifications. As you know from reading Chapter 4, the job analysis process results in two key documents, and often these are included in one document. They're just two different parts of a document. But the first thing that comes out of your job analysis is what's called a job description. And that, as you recall, includes details of all the responsibilities of that particular position. The next thing that results from the job analysis is the job specification. And the job specification includes all of the qualifications for that job. So what are the requirements? Sometimes these are called KSAs, or knowledge, skills, and ability. Okay, so what does someone need to have to be qualified for that job and to be fully successful in that position? Okay, with both of these, you need to be as detailed and specific as you can. I'm going to focus in here on this video on the job specification piece. So why is it important to be specific with your job specification? As you know, again from reading the chapter, the job analysis results, the job description and job specification are used for virtually every HR function, from training and development, interviewing and recruiting, figuring out how much to pay people, doing employees' performance appraisals, figuring out what kind of training people might need. The job description is the basis for all of this. So it needs to be accurate, it needs to be up to date, and it absolutely needs to be very specific. Okay, so to illustrate that point, let's just imagine for a minute what it would be like if you were given a really vague job specification and you were told, go conduct an interview for this position. And the first job specification on the list, the first qualification, said written communication skills. Okay, I think we've all seen a job spec at some point that said they have to have excellent written communication skills. Well, how are you going to write a question? How are you going to know what to ask the person? Are you going to say something like, tell me about a time when you written communication skilled? You know, you don't really know what written communication skills means in this context. Okay, so if the person writing that job specification had actually been specific, it would be very easy to write your questions, to evaluate the candidate responses, and then eventually to select the best candidate. Okay, so how do you go about being specific? How do you go from having written communication skill to having something more detailed? The first thing that you should do is to really think about how the individual will use that particular knowledge, skill, or ability in that actual position. Okay, so if I'm a technical writer, written communication is going to mean one thing. Okay, if I'm a third grade teacher, it might be something completely different. If I'm going out and doing estimates for people to put a new furnace or air conditioner in their house, it's going to be different still. Okay, it's still written communication skills, but it could take on a very different tone and have a different set of specific requirements or skills, okay, within that broad category. So let's take a look at a couple of examples here. So again, for written communication, if I'm a technical writer, the job spec for that, well, the entire job spec is probably going to revolve around writing skills and research skills, but it might say something like demonstrated ability to create detailed, specific instructions for highly complex processes in a way that is easy for a non-technical reader to understand and follow. Okay, versus if I'm a newspaper reporter, maybe I don't have to be as detailed, but maybe I have to be very, very concise. I have to follow AP style, and I have to hit on the key points. If I'm a mechanical engineer, I'm going to have to write maybe a project summary or proposal or memo, and maybe it's going to go to technical people like my engineering team, but maybe it's going to go to the production supervisor and the CFO or cost accountant or someone else in the company as well. So I can't fill it, full of technical jargon that they won't understand. Okay, and those other jobs that were on the list, third grade teacher, HVAC estimator. You know, those might all have different definitions for written communication. And I think how you can see that if you were to take one of these and try to develop a good interview question or even set of interview questions, that it'd be much easier to do that. And if you were trying to evaluate someone's performance, if you were trying to evaluate a mechanical engineer's writing abilities, this would be much more helpful because you could go back and look at their work and think about how they've done and look at examples. And this is something you could actually use to evaluate performance. Or if you were going to do a training session for mechanical engineers on business writing, this would be more helpful, okay, as you were putting that together. So again, being specific is going to provide a great level of support for all of those HR functions. Okay, now it's time for you to practice doing this. You have a couple assignments in this unit where you will be working with job descriptions. The first one is assignment 3A, and when this one you're going to practice actually writing detailed job specifications. So as you look at each of the job specs that you're asked to write, each of the qualifications that you're asked to write in detail, think to yourself, how will the person use this specific skill or ability in this job? Okay, it might be problem solving, it might be oral communication, it might be computer skills. Think about how they're going to use it because they're going to use it in different ways depending on what their job is. And then, you know, imagine yourself using that job specification to do something within HR, maybe writing a detailed interview question or evaluating someone's performance or figuring out what training someone in a certain position might need. What you've written, would it be helpful? Okay, would it help you go through that process? And if not, then you need to go back and make it more specific. If you have questions, let your instructor know. So good luck with the assignment.